Wow. How about them Sooners? I was expecting an OU win today. Wasn't expecting a blowout, but man, did the Sooner offense come ready to play at Fort Worth. Did they ever perform on this Saturday? And 52-27. Wow. Before I go any further with my postgame of Oklahoma TCU, have you noticed something about Sooner football in contemporary times? I'm talking about this century. I'm thinking other than 2014, other than that year, I can't remember any time where the Sooners have lost, win or lose, after the Texas game. After the Longhorn game, the Sooners win. Again, 2014 when they lost to Kansas State in a heartbreaker. That's the only time I can remember in recent times that the Sooners have dropped the game after the Longhorn game. But I'm telling you what, today the Sooners were focused, and the offensive line gets the biggest round of applause. Opening holes all day long for Trey Sermon, for Kennedy Brooks, and you got to give credit to the ground game. Over 300 yards on the ground, being able to handle a TCU defense that came in tops, by the way, tops in the Big 12 in points allowed per game, only giving up 20 per contest. The Sooners already had that eclipsed 10 minutes to go before halftime. And I'm seeing your responses as we're going live here. And yes, the defense, I'll get into the defense in a second. I will talk about the defense and give you my critique of how Ruffin McNeil's unit performed. The offense, though, over 500 yards, total offense, the ground game, making things easier for everything else to fall into place. And again, the big game by Kennedy Brooks and by Trey Sermon, not just finding the holes, which were monster-sized holes, but also, too, yards after contact. That was a big, big thing. Refusing to go down, refusing to be denied, getting that additional yardage. And again, the ground game was superb. Kyler Murray, 4-touchdown game. You kidding me? He continues just to keep piling up statistics. No turnovers today for the Sooners. The one element, though, if I'm going to be critical, it's going to be the element of penalties, which in that first half, penalties prevent from going further or making it harder for the offense to execute. And, of course, we saw that penalty after OU's first touchdown, the celebration with Lamb as well with Brown, got flagged for that. So rather than kicking from the 35, Sooners are kicking from their own 20. And when that happened, I thought, well, we're finally going to see the Sooners have to defend a kick because it's usually touchback city for Austin Seibert. But in this case, he actually was not going to be able to get a touchback because he's kicking off from his own 20. And sure enough, Kevontae Turpin, the most dangerous kick returner we've seen in the last 2 years in college football, he got a running start. He found an alley, and it was history. So that penalty was really linked to that touchdown that you saw at the beginning of the game, but the Sooners did respond offensively. 8 penalties for the Sooners in the first half for 60 yards, but you notice that those penalties were eliminated. I don't think they had any penalties, by the way, in the second half. But the Sooners offense, Kyler Murray and company, Murray completing about 80% of his passes, 4 TDs, making terrific decisions, effective running the ball. We've seen it all year from Kyler Murray. So another great game for the Sooner quarterback. Now, of course, the most interesting part of this game happened when the Sooners were up 28-7. Shawn Robinson, he's been playing recently with a bad shoulder. The shoulder has been plaguing him recently. So down 28-7, TCU, Gary Patterson needing a spark, and you see Michael Collins come into the game. I think he only had 16 passing attempts entering the contest. And you saw a bit of a change in TCU's demeanor. The crowd definitely was looking for a change. And before we saw TCU score 17 unanswered points, the Sooners had a chance, by the way, to go up 35-7. I know the Sooners went big, but you can't tell me Bookie Riley-Haas won't be thinking about that interception that he could not handle. And if he handles it, it's 50 yards the other way, and the Sooners are up 35-7. My gosh, you're thinking, just hold on to the ball, and we don't get into this comeback mode for TCU. But instead, the next play, Sooners get caught with the pressure, outside screen, and Turpin, guys, second touchdown just like that. And the rest of the quarter was going TCU's way. TCU did a little bit better job in defending the run and defending the pass, and had got it down to 28-21, was driving the OU territory before halftime. And this is one thing I thought about, and I want everyone's opinion on this if you don't mind. When the Sooners stopped TCU on 3rd and whatever, but they were in field goal range, You surprised that Lincoln Riley, with all three of his timeouts about a minute ago, did not take a timeout? You know, you'd have 2 left. You're going to get the ball after the field goal attempt, make or miss, and it doesn't take long for Oklahoma to score. At first, I'm thinking, what's Oklahoma thinking? Not at least attempting to try to get a score before halftime. I think at that point he was thinking, okay, the momentum's on TCU's side. They just scored 17 in a row. We're about to score 17 in a row. And I don't like the way the offense has been looking. Let's not risk the lead. I think that's what Lincoln Riley was thinking. That's why you saw OU just eat the final minute of the first half with the precarious lead. But the second half, you notice that the Sooners just kept scoring. And again, it was led by the running attack, which again made life easier. And how about Lee Morris? He's pretty much the Chris Carter of OU football. All he does is catch touchdowns. And he had a couple today. CD Lamb with a score. Naturally, as far as the injury situations for the Sooners, at least 3 players stuck out. And if there's anybody I'm missing, please let me know, because I'm just going by what I saw. Of course, the big one was Trey Sermon. Fourth quarter, Sooners got the game in hand. The leg injury, walking gingerly out the field. Hopefully he's fine, because you look at the depth of Oklahoma's backfield, which was never really an issue entering the season. In fact, you had 4 guys to rely on. Of course, Rodney Anderson's out. Of course, Cameron Sutton, didn't see him today. It was, Kennedy, Brooks, and Sermon. So hopefully Sermon is fine and he can go for Kansas State, because now the depth of your backfield would look really, really on the thin side. Now, a couple of other players we saw. Gallimore walk off a little gingerly off the field in the fourth quarter. Hopefully he's fine too. And then early in the game, Marquise Brown with the ankle, but I do believe he came back. So hopefully that's nothing too serious. Defensively, I think one of my bloggers just responded, an improvement, and I agree 100%. It was an improvement. What I really liked from the defense in that in the first quarter especially was how fired up they were, how loose they looked, how ready they looked. The first quarter was terrific by Ruffin McQuad. Give him defense credit for that. Second quarter was a much different story with the quarterback change. The defense was kind of going back to their old ways, giving up big plays. Motley getting burned on that touchdown that made it 28-21. Not even close to his guy, and OU not getting into the backfield. But gotta give credit to the Sooners though in the second half. Didn't give up any touchdowns. In fact, I think one of my bloggers just said only 3 second half points. And that's what I was thinking in the second half. First half I'm thinking, let's play some solid defense. But the way this game was going in a high-scoring fashion, you're thinking in the second half, Oklahoma defense, hey, let's just make sure we don't give up touchdowns. Give up a field goal, that's fine, but no 6 points. And they did a better job of that. By the way, Motley late in the game, a bit of redemption for himself, getting that pick late in the game. Of course, the game was already decided, but it's good to see that Motley got the pick that led to Oklahoma's final touchdown of the game. But like I said, TCU, they've been dealing with offensive issues all year long. They only scored 16 points per game in their last 3, 15 turnovers. They didn't commit a turnover in this game until the very end when the outcome was obvious. And again, Shawn Robinson's had the injury issue with the shoulder. And then we saw the backup. We saw him have problems with his hand, which he had injured. And he went through a stretch, I think, of 5 or 6 incompletions in a row. So TCU just not reliable at the quarterback spot in that particular second half. In the beginning, Collins did fine, but eventually OU was able to catch up to him, and the TCU defense was simply getting worn out, especially in that second half. So the offensive line for Oklahoma, they get the biggest props for me. They made everything happen with wearing down TCU's fine defense, and also to creating those holes, providing that for both Sermon and also to providing that for the rest of the contest. This was just a performance by Kennedy Brooks. Again, 168 yards, averaging, I think he averaged about 9 yards a carry. I think that's what he averaged. And we'll see next week. And that is a good point by Jay. I mean, you go with the hot man right now, Kennedy Brooks, and start next week against Kansas State. By the way, the game with the Wildcats, K-State had a bye week. That will be next Saturday, 2:30 kickoff. I think it's going to be on Fox, on Big Fox. So Sooners get 3 of their final 5 games at home. As far as the offense goes, business as usual, putting up a lot of points. We've seen that all year, and except maybe against Army. Definitely saw it today. And TCU is known for terrific defense. Defense isn't the reason, in my opinion, why TCU is struggling like they are. It's been the offense, and the Sooners really made TCU's defense, really made them pay today, both running and with Kyler Murray at the QB position. As far as TCU, now they got to face the fact that the bowl eligibility is in jeopardy. That's their 4th loss, and they still got 5 games to go. So they got to win 3 of the last 5 to at least get to bowl eligibility. Good news for TCU. They play at Kansas next week. That's always a great remedy right there. Again, the Sooners 52-27 started off well. Game got a little dramatic in the middle part, but the final layer saw OU wear TCU down, and the TCU offense, they've had struggles all season, and you saw that especially in the second half, registering only 3 points. And the Sooner defense saw some improvement, but you can't really give them just a complete evaluation yet because it's just the first game under Ruffin McNeil, and also to a TCU offense that just simply put isn't the best. But bottom line, Sooners dominate and now come back home for the first time in about 4 weeks. So can't wait to see them on the 27th from Gaylord Memorial against the Wildcats. Good job, Crimson and Cream, and, of course, Boomer Sooner.